Assalamu alaikum everyone. Welcome to lesson 5 of our Arabic alphabet series. Today we're learning the letter Jeem. Jeem, the 5th letter in the Arabic alphabet. This is the letter Jeem. And we can see that it's a very unique curved type shape, right? Sort of like a hook type shape. It almost looks like if the letter J and the letter C in the English language got together, had a nikah, had a baby, right? This would be the letter that they produce. So it's sort of like a mix between a J and a C, right? And it also contains a dot within the center to distinguish this letter. And it's written like this. So we start with this portion of the letter that looks like the top of a J, and we're writing this from left to right, like so. And then we immediately go into a C, right? And then we want to place a dot right in the center of this C-shaped portion, right? Just beneath the J-shaped angle that we see right here, right? And this dot is very crucial for us to identify the letter Jeem, okay? So it's this unique curve type shape with a dot in between. In Arabic, the Jeem represents the sound J, 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 similar to the sound of the letter J in English, right? For example, the word juice, juice, or jar, jar, for example. Now let's take a look at the different forms of the letter Jeem when written in a word. You can download this Arabic alphabet chart as well as the worksheets to follow along with me and practice your writing for free using the link below. So we see here the Jeem in its base form, right, which we just took a look at. And we see the importance of the lines on this page because it helps us to understand something about the positioning of the letter Jeem when it's written, right? And we can see that this curved shaped portion, right, this other half of the C, if you will, is beneath the line, right? So let's practice writing the letter Jeem again in its base form. We have this little portion that's like the top of a J, and then we curve immediately into a C, and this dot right here is also placed just below that line, right? Just below that bottom line. And again, we have this little J type portion straight into a C and a dot beneath. And again, we have this J type portion straight into a C and a dot beneath, right? Very easy, very straightforward. It is a really uniquely shaped letter. So print as many of these pages as you need and practice your writing of these letters, right, in their different forms, because again, this is really going to help you in recognizing these letters and memorizing these letters. And it's also going to help you develop your reading proficiency as well. At the beginning of a word, the Jeem looks like this, right? Very similar to how it looks in its isolated form, right? In its base form, except that we've cut off the other half of this C-shaped portion. And instead, we've turned it into a tail that extends out to the left side of the letter, right? Why? So that the letter after it has something to connect to, right? It has something to hold on to. And again, we start in the same positioning that we did in the base form, right? So we complete this J-shaped portion, but instead of going straight into the C, we take the portion that would have curved into the C and we extend it to the left, right? So that we have something for the next letter to connect to. And again, this dot right here that is still placed in the same position, right? Just beneath the J-shaped angle and what would have been, this curved portion of the C shape, right? We place that dot because this is a key indicator of the letter Jeem, right? So let's try that one more time. We have this J-shaped angle, right? And instead of going straight into the C, we complete half of it and extend it out, right? And then don't forget that dot. And again, complete this J-shaped portion straight into half the C and then extend out to the left, right? So that the letter after has something to hold on to. And again, don't forget that dot for the letter Jeem. In its medial form, when the Jeem is between two letters, right, it looks like this. And we see this tail right here extending out to the Jeem, right, so that it has something to connect to. And then we see the same exact portion that we did in the beginning form, right? We have this angle, right, that's like the top of a J that connects to this portion that extends out. And then we make half that C, but instead of completing it, we just extend this tail out so that the letter after has something to connect to. So this portion right here is technically the tail of the letter before, if it's a letter that is allowed to be connected from the left side, right? And then we just want to start this portion of the Jeem just like we did in the last line. Back down, place a dot beneath, And again, we have this tail from the letter before it. Draw that top portion of the J shape, go into half the C and extend out, place a dot here. And one more time, again, we have this tail that extends out to the Jeem from the letter before it. We draw this top portion of the J shape, and instead of going into a full C, we extend it out to the left side for the letter after to connect to it here. And then again, don't forget that dot beneath, right? So this is the Jeem in its medial form. And when placed at the end of a word, the Jeem looks like this, right? Very similar to its base form, literally the exact same. The only thing that has changed here, the only thing that's different, is now we have this tail portion right here that extends out to the Jeem, so it has something to connect to from the right side, right? So we're gonna write it like this, right? We draw this little tail portion from the letter before it, and then we draw the Jeem in its base form, basically, right? Straight into that C shape with a dot beneath. And again, this tail from the letter before it, this J-shaped form, straight into a C. And then we want to place that dot beneath it, right? And one more time again, right? This tail from the letter before it. And then we draw the Jeem in its base form right here, right? This is how the Jeem looks at the end of a word. So now let's take a look at an example of how the letter Jeem looks when it's connected to other letters within a word. Take, for example, the word Jamal, Jamal, camel. So we can see the Jeem placed at the beginning of this word. We see this top J-shaped portion, right? And instead of going into the C shape, right, and completing this C shape, we're extending this and placing a tail here, giving the letter that follows something to connect to, right? Let's take a look at another very common word that you've probably heard before, masjid, masjid. And we see the Jeem here in its medial form, right? When it's placed between two letters, right? And it connects to both sides. Some key points to remember about the letter Jeem is that when it sits between two letters, it connects to both sides. And it only connects from the right side in its final form, right? And also, you never want to forget that dot, because this is a key indication that it's the letter Jeem. And we're going to see exactly why this is important going forward, inshallah. Don't forget to practice writing the Jeem in all of its different forms, and also try to recognize it in the Quran and other Arabic texts. Join me in the next lesson for the letter Ha.